Is it called football or soccer? Well, it depends on who you ask. Both words refer to the same sport, and which one you use probably comes down to where you live. But why? Is there a reason we have two distinct names for the same sport? Let's find out on today's episode of
Colossal Question.
Since the sport first started in England, where it's called football, most people assume that soccer must be an American word, but it's not. Turns out it comes from British slang. Even still, most British fans today reject the name soccer and insist on football. Meanwhile, very few Americans call the sport football. Technically speaking, everybody's right. Both words are correct. You see, it all goes back to 1863, the year that the English Football Association officially wrote down a set of rules for the sport. At the time, the sport was super popular in England, but it wasn't the only type of football people played. Rugby football was another version that let players touch the ball and carry it around. So, one of the sports became known as association football, while the other was called rugby football. Eventually, people just started calling it rugby or rugger. Association football became known as just football, but it also sometimes got called a soc or a soak, a soccer, and then eventually soccer. For a while, the name soccer was used alongside football in England, and no one seemed to care which word you used. It all meant the same thing. But by the 1980s, people more or less stopped saying soccer entirely across Britain, and the ever-popular sport became known just as football. Meanwhile, across the pond in the US, another sport was growing more and more popular all throughout the 20th century: gridiron football. This version borrowed bits from both rugby and association football, mashing them up into a new variation. This new version of American gridiron football proved to be quite popular in the US, and people quickly started referring to the sport as football across the country. Because of this, association football players across the US started using the old slang term soccer to differentiate from American football, and by the middle of the 20th century, the term soccer was firmly cemented in place. There are other countries that call it soccer too. Like the US, it's usually because there's another variation of football that's popular in the country, creating a need for different names. Canada calls it soccer because they play their own version of gridiron football. Ireland calls it both words since they also have Gaelic football. In Australia, they have a form of rugby called Aussie Rules football, so they call the other sport soccer. New Zealand, South Africa, Japan, and a few others use the word too. So which is it, soccer or football? Well, it depends on where you live, but no matter what you say, you're talking about the same sport. So call it whatever you want. Just don't touch the ball with your hands.